Welcome to Behold. I'm Beth, and today Craig and I are going to dig into the history books and discover new things we learned all about Thanksgiving in America. So it's kind of fun, and then we tie everything up with beholding Jesus. So share this podcast, like, subscribe, comment, send us an email, behold@arcadechurch.com if you have questions. We love hearing from you. Here we go. Hi, Craig.
How you doing, Beth?
Is that Craig over there?
Yes, it is.
What you got there?
This is the closest thing I could find to a Thanksgiving theme.
Okay.
That's all I could find.
Okay.
I didn't have I left my pilgrim's hat up north, and so I got this one. I know I look like from a Siberian gulag.
I was thinking Elmer Fudd.
Hey, listen, up north, if the snow is falling sideways, this baby comes in handy.
Oh, I bet it does. Protects your ears.
It is winter, and I'm ready for it. But
okay,
this is so hot.
Take it off.
Let me fix
Please.
my hair.
Okay. Oh, you missed
I missed a spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay.
So what was the coldest it ever got when you lived up in Washington?
Oh, probably in single digits.
Okay.
But growing up where I grew up in Idaho,
yeah.
it would get below zero.
Oh my
all
gosh.
the time. Yeah. And so I don't miss any of that at all.
Yeah, when Bruce is from the Antelope Valley, so Lancaster, Palmdale,
yeah.
and we lived there the first few years of our marriage, and
that's high desert, right?
It's high desert,
yeah.
And I remember one day it was 19 degrees, it's in Southern California, and if you think Southern California, you're thinking sunshine and beaches and
exactly.
shorts, but it was so dry, so like my skin on my hands would crack and such. So just super different environment, but cold.
It is.
Cold.
It is that.
Cold.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thank you. A couple days away.
It is a couple of days away.
I hear you and Debbie are doing Run to Feed the Hungry.
We are looking forward to it. We can't wait. It's always a blast. You've done it.
It's so fun.
And
you'll have to represent for me.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
I will. And it's just a lot of fun to be with. And for Debbie and me, we're with people that we've never met before.
Sure.
And so that's a great thing. What are you guys doing for Thanksgiving Day?
We are going to be at Bruce's parents' house.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, and his sister, her family, and there's a great niece who's 6 years old, and it is so fun.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that.
Okay, hardball question.
Okay.
What is, speaking for your family, talking about Bruce and the girls.
Okay.
What is your go-to Thanksgiving dish? And they would say, it's not Thanksgiving, Mom, unless you do this.
We're not very traditional.
I thought you were Christians.
We're not very traditional.
Apparently not.
Well, Bruce spent a lot of his career working weird hours and holidays and weekends.
Yeah.
So traditions are kind of different for us just because
the tradition is no tradition.
The traditions go with the flow or
adapt.
Make do or adapt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think our favorite, if we had to go back and you can do one Thanksgiving all over again with the food, it would be the year we did Italian food.
Oh, okay.
And I did like lasagna rolls and.
So no turkey?
No. No one really,
Well, how can you be thankful? How can you be thankful?
Turkey's fine.
Oh, we're done. Cut. We're done here. Oh.
It's fine.
I've known you for almost 15 years. This is a new revelation that's disturbing. It's got to be turkey. It's got to be. Now, see, for us, we are traditional.
What's your favorite, Craig?
Why, thanks for asking there, Beth. Our favorite, I shouldn't say ours.
Okay.
My favorite. It's not Thanksgiving. We do the turkey. We do the stuffing, all that kind of stuff. Debbie does. I'm not a stuffing fan.
Okay.
I just don't like it. But Debbie puts them in cupcake tins.
Yes.
And so there's more crusties
Yep.
and stuff. And I mean, I could just, that's dessert to me. I mean, it's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
And she does it every year. I love it.
It's so much better than like the pile of mush that stuffing can just
That's exactly the best description of it.
Yeah. But you get that little crispy with a little mush in the middle, which is fine.
Yeah.
But those crispy
you
edges
soak that up
and
with gravy and you're good. You're good to go.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm looking forward to it. Hey, today, this is our Thanksgiving show. It's going to drop a day before Thanksgiving.
Yes.
All right. And what we thought we would do is do a little bit of research on Thanksgiving, and that was primarily you.
Yes.
We talked about it, but you enjoyed that, it sounds like.
I did.
Just kind of going in to talk about the original Thanksgiving, because we probably all know about the Pilgrims. I don't even know if they teach that in school anymore.
I don't know.
But the Pilgrims, about the Indians, about Plymouth Rock, all that kind of stuff. And so we thought it might be good today to just talk about where we get some of the traditions of Thanksgiving, when did it all start, all that kind of stuff. And that might make Thursday even more beneficial.
You might have some little factoids you can share with your family instead of arguing about politics.
Yeah, we don't need to argue about politics, right?
Oh, please don't.
It's over. It's over, and so we don't have to worry about it. But you did some research on Thanksgiving, and you did a bunch of sources and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And I guess the question for me, because I didn't know this until we had discussed, talk a little bit about the Mayflower, Pilgrims, Plymouth Rock, before we even get to the day that commemorates Thanksgiving.
Okay.
All right.
So even before the Mayflower, we think of the Pilgrims landing at Plymouth Rock as the first Europeans to meet the Wampanoag tribe, right? This group of Native Americans, but some of them already spoke English. So there had already been some Europeans.
How did they speak English?
There had already been Europeans there.
Like missionaries or
just like
traders?
They're not sure exactly how, but
okay.
So we think, the Pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock.
They had never seen a white man before.
Not quite. Kind of so fascinating, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, 1620 is when the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock.
Plymouth Rock.
They were in the Mayflower, right? They had sailed for 66 days, so 2 months on a ship.
I cannot imagine that. We're not talking a cruise.
Not a road trip where it's like you get to get out at the hotel and lock the bathroom door.
I would be so seasick. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Seasick and everyone else is like you're just on top of each other, all the things, right? But there were 102 passengers and they wanted to land in Virginia. But they ended up.
They missed that mark.
They missed it by a few states.
To
us, right?
Yeah.
But after a year and a half, after a year, over half of the initial passengers had died.
Of the 102?
Of the 102. So exposure. It was super cold.
Yeah, right.
Disease.
Probably malnourishment.
And starvation. Yeah.
Well, the disease, the disease probably, that was like a floating petri dish of all kinds of diseases.
Yeah. But what we know, like we can all picture the table setting with the turkey and the Pilgrims on one side.
Which is the way it was. Right?
We don't know.
Yeah, it's true. We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
So that was in the autumn of 1621, and there was. So I'm going to be flipping through my notes. So if you hear paper, that's just because I pulled from different articles, and so I'm trying to give you guys accurate information.
Yeah.
What's interesting is a lot of the stuff it says historians think, or this is what probably happened.
Okay.
So there's
nothing definitive.
Not super accurate information. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind as I'm talking.
So they land in 1620.
Yeah.
And they endure the winter where you said over half of the 102 passengers died.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And somewhere here I have where at the first, what we think of as the first Thanksgiving, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah.
There were 90-some Native Americans and just over 50 Pilgrims.
Left.
Wow. And they spent probably a couple days celebrating this harvest. Like, we had food. We're not going to starve to death anymore.
Yeah.
But what also was interesting is Pilgrims didn't believe in public religious displays.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have had like a worship service out with their new neighbors.
Yeah.
They would have had that in a private set. So it's so interesting.
And so they were free to be able to enjoy their new neighbors, even though they came from a different culture, different race, different religions.
Yep.
the Puritans were okay with that.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, and I think you mentioned it in our conversation before the show, that we're not talking that they came over for a couple of hours for lunch and then watched football and went home.
Right. It was a multi-day thing.
It was several days. I'm guessing they probably had contests and games.
Can you imagine? It'd be so fun.
Oh, yeah. Learning different Wampanoag games
Sure,
and Pilgrim games and all that and just having a good time together.
Probably hoops and acorns and, every youth pastor's wildest dream of games.
If I'm getting ahead of you, stop me.
Okay.
But I have to think that it sounds so great to have these neighboring tribes come over and you have this meal together and you share probably turkey and eel and all that kind of stuff together. And it's just great. But there had to be some fear and anxiety there.
Yeah, probably on both parts.
Oh, both parts, because the Wampanoags, Noags are going, all right, what are these people coming over going to do to us? Because it sounds like white traders that have already come over, that's probably not the best of society that they've witnessed.
Right.
And then the Pilgrims are thinking, what's going to happen with these tribes who are used to warring? They're used to fighting. They're used to skirmishes and things. And so both sides, I have to think, were, okay, all right, we're sizing each other up here a little bit.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem to be what happened. It seemed to be an actual feast.
That there was unity.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you hear that? Unity.
Yeah, yeah.
At Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
What a miracle.
That's just crazy.
I know. So super interesting to think about that there were other Thanksgiving, quote, services held in the colonies earlier than the Pilgrims. They think that in Maine, they held a Thanksgiving service as early as 1607.
And they called it Thanksgiving or giving thanks or whatever?
Yeah, it just was,
in 1607.
In
wow,
1607.
Okay.
So that's from an article from the Smithsonian. Okay. So, it wasn't random, keep your fingers crossed, hope these are facts. So, Smithsonian, National Archives, so some reliable historical.
Well, and too, it sounds like when you're talking about earlier is more than likely it was this way or probably it was this way. And I think more often than not, that's accurate.
Yes.
When it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting to think about. Like, there were Thanksgiving of thanks happened regularly.
Okay, I have a question then.
Okay.
And because we're different generations, but you and I probably grew up with the same stories about Thanksgiving, the Pilgrims, the Indians, all that kind of stuff. Where does Squanto play a part in this?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Hold on. I got to turn the page.
Because, for a while there, I thought, he's probably just someone that they made up to kind of fill in the blanks of helping the Pilgrims and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But did he really exist?
He did. And I'm glad you asked that because I forgot to say at the beginning that a lot of what we think of the first Thanksgiving, a lot of the ideas or images or pictures we have in our head, it's like myth and facts are so blended. Yeah. It's hard to like, imagine you get mashed potatoes with gravy and now you have to separate them. Like, you can't do it. So the myths are there, the facts are there, the truth is somewhere in the middle. Yeah. So that's kind of what we're hoping to discuss today is where the truth is somewhere in between the myth and the facts.
But the truth is, I think that you'd agree, and your sources would agree, that Thanksgiving was indeed a good thing.
Thanksgiving was a good thing.
And it was a good thing.
And Squanto was a real person.
Okay. Does he fit with the Thanksgiving story, or is that a separate story?
He does. His given name was Tisquantum.
Really?
Isn't that kind of cool?
Yeah.
Like quantum physics is in there. But he was born in present-day Massachusetts and is believed he was captured along the coast of Maine in 1605 by someone who was supposed to explore. So he captures a few people, and he thought maybe his financial backers would like to have a look at what an Indian looked like.
Oh, he would be
you could get people to pay you to see.
Put a tent over him and charge admission, and people would come and see a real, actual savage. They'd probably call it that.
Yeah. So he was captured, and then he was taken to England, and he lived with someone who taught him English and actually hired him to be an interpreter and guide. So so imagine Tisquantum. Squanto is now in England, learning English, etc. But he returned to his homeland, what we call America, in 1614 with John Smith, whose name you might recognize from the Disney movie Pocahontas. Not accurate. So they think maybe he was acting as a guide for John Smith. Yeah. He was captured again by another British explorer and sold into slavery in Spain.
Man, that guy.
Crazy life.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Right? So he escaped, lived with monks for a few years, and then returned to North America. And his whole tribe died of smallpox. So
that was introduced by the Europeans, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So he went to live with the Wampanoags.
Okay.
So he wasn't, but he found some people.
And his English is probably impeccable.
Of course.
I'm guessing. And so is he the one that actually did teach the Pilgrims how to grow crops, how to survive, all that kind of stuff?
You know what? That's not recorded in anything I found, but more like he kind of played interpreter.
Okay.
So he could be the in-between guy, right?
Yeah.
But it says that at some point in time, after the first Thanksgiving, he helped the Pilgrims, find a lost boy.
Oh, wow.
And so built more trust, right?
Yeah.
But he also helped with planting and fishing. So kind of unique that he had this story of this life of going back and forth across the ocean. He probably had seen more of the world than the Pilgrims, right? Or any of the other Native Americans.
Well, and two, I mean, I would think that if Squanto is there when the Pilgrims landed, the last thing he's going to do is trust a European.
Oh, yeah. Here's some more people to kidnap me.
They're going to kidnap me. And that doesn't appear to be part of the story with the Pilgrims, at least.
It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah.
No.
And that may have been just simply because the Pilgrims were really spiritual, religious refugees. Yeah. They had come over to the mainland because of the persecution in Plymouth and in Great Britain. And so that's just amazing that he would have the wherewithal to not be threatened. Yes. By the Pilgrims. Okay, so that's...
Well, he died in 1622. So...
Oh, wow. He was...
Right after.
Yeah.
But he died while he was acting as a guide for the governor of Massachusetts.
Huh. Is that Bradford? Or?
Yep, William Bradford. Yeah. Good job, Craig.
Thank you.
Wow.
I remember something.
I should give you a gold star.
I know it. I knew. I didn't know that. So I wonder how old. Does it say how old he was? Probably not.
They think he was born in 1580. So 1580 to 1622. So 42.
Which is probably an old man back then.
Very well could be.
Yeah.
Very well could be. Yeah. So here's some other fun facts.
Okay.
There's a woman named Sarah Josepha Hale, and she was an editor and an author.
What time span?
Oh, this was in the 1800s.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Nope. Yeah, late 1700s, early 1800s.
Okay. All right.
She was an editor, and she went on a 36-year campaign to make Thanksgiving a federal holiday.
36 years?
36 years.
One string of the banjo that she played?
That was it.
For
that was her
36
thing.
years?
Yeah. We all get obsessed about a thing. That was her thing.
Well, it could be worse.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Right? Because then Abraham Lincoln said yes.
When did he say yes?
October 3rd, 1863, he declared that.
In the middle of the Civil War?
Yeah. It might have been a political play.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Which politicians do.
No. That's crazy talk.
Breaking news. Politicians play politics.
Yeah.
But then also FDR, who was president during the Depression.
During the 30s, yeah. 1930s.
Yes. The Thanksgiving holiday was going to land like very end of the month, kind of like this year, where we blink after Thanksgiving and it's Christmas.
Yeah.
And to hopefully stimulate the economy, he moved it up a week to be the third Thursday. So for 2 years, some people celebrated on the third Thursday and some people celebrated on the fourth Thursday because they just couldn't agree.
All to generate shopping and stuff?
Yep, to give people more time to shop for the holidays. Isn't that crazy?
I'm guessing it was during the Depression.
It was during the Depression.
And so he wanted to stimulate. Wow. So moving a holiday.
Wait a minute. Politicians.
Playing politics.
What?
That's just weird, I tell you.
Yeah.
Well,
so it's just kind of interesting to just
Well, when did they decide on the Thursday?
That was Lincoln. Lincoln decided the fourth Thursday.
When did FDR? Did he just stop?
It was just 2 years, and then they went back to normal.
Okay. He saw the handwriting on the wall and all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Well, and even before, I know I'm bouncing all over the place
No, it's
here
good.
historically. Before Lincoln, before Sarah Hale, some people in the Constitution decided by joint committee.
Mm-hmm.
That means
committee made something.
People agreeing on things.
Yeah.
To have a Thanksgiving Day. And George Washington proclaimed people should observe a day of public thanksgiving and prayer. 3 other presidents did the same, except there was one president in there who didn't. Can you guess who?
Between Washington and Lincoln?
Yes.
Or between Washington and Lincoln. Oh. Okay. Well, because of the way Washington stated it, it'd probably be Jefferson.
Yep. Thomas Jefferson
was not for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. Because of separation of church and state.
Yeah.
If we're going to take a federal holiday to thank God,
and
that's...
Jefferson poo-pooed that. Because,
he did. That was his thing, right?
Yeah.
Sarah Hale had one string of the banjo. Thomas Jefferson. Well, he had more than one, but that was his big one, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So just super interesting. Like if you go online and look up articles from National Archives and the Smithsonian biography, just really interesting to see. Oh, the first Thanksgiving is just the one we've decided is the first. Okay, cool. Just
That's
interesting.
Neat. That's neat.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is, I don't want to get into a rant because it's such a good conversation, but the way that I think that sometimes we have drifted from that original Thanksgiving to God. And it might be that we go around the table and say, hey, say something you're thankful for. But that's pretty much it, because the next day is Black Friday.
Right.
And that's when we go crazy.
Yeah.
We're thankful for what we have
for
on
a
Thursday,
second.
and on Friday, we just have to get more.
Yeah.
And we get it because of the gifts and all that kind of stuff. But I think that helps us a little bit, especially with the Pilgrims, because it was life or death for them.
It was literal life or death.
I mean, especially because if there's 50 pilgrims at the first Thanksgiving, then 52 of those had died. There are 52 place settings at the table that weren't there a year ago.
Yep.
And that has got to be so difficult.
Oh, can you imagine just the heart-wrenching devastation of that?
Yeah.
Watching person after
person. And yet they were grateful to God because of what God's done.
And something else I read was the first, all these Thanksgivings we've talked about, part of it might have been days of fasting rather than feasting.
Yeah.
And we just want to
we don't eat.
Shovel. Keep shoveling. Yeah. Oh, it's been 10 minutes since I had something to eat.
It's time.
Where's the snacks, Mom? Or whatever. But just thinking about how there is a way to honor God in the midst of festivities.
Yeah.
But there also is a time and place for fasting out of a time of reflection and gratitude.
Yeah.
So just interesting.
It is. It is. Well, thanks for doing all the legwork on that.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about how the so what of all this.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Like.
You mean right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be easy to look at this through rose-colored lenses. The history of our country as far as interactions with Native Americans.
Yeah.
And pretend that none of the atrocities and borderline genocide didn't happen. We're not saying that. We're not doing that. But as we're looking at people across the table who are different than us, like the Native Americans and Pilgrims at the first Thanksgiving, I think we should think about our Christian values, how Jesus treated people.
Preach.
Right?
Go on. Keep going.
Okay, in that case, I think we need to look at the person who voted completely different than this as an image bearer.
Because they'll be sitting across the table.
Because they're going to sit across the table from you.
Yeah.
Whether you know they voted differently than you or not.
Yeah.
Or they have weird color hair, or their lifestyle choices
Mm-hmm.
are things that you wouldn't approve of.
Mm-hmm.
They're still an image bearer of Christ.
Yeah.
Right? I think we need to look at that person across the table and love them with Christ's love.
Mm-hmm. Well
'Cause-
said, B.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
And then one more thing, thinking about how America is a melting pot
Mm-hmm.
and how divisive we are right now, right? You're either on this side or this side, and there's no middle ground. And if you disagree with me on this one thing, we're not friends anymore.
Yeah,
I'm never
you're
speaking
dead
to you
to me.
again. Right. I think we have to look at people with compassion because we may not have any clue what burden they're bearing
Mm-hmm.
or what they've gone through or what their life has been like. And so instead of casting judgment or throwing stones, I think we really need to put on compassion, right? There's a verse that says that, put on compassion.
Yeah.
And if you're putting on compassion, you're seeing people the way Jesus sees them. You're loving them with his love.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is there's going to be a little more unity around your Thanksgiving table.
Yeah.
So
Well said. I think that's as you were talking, I think it was G.K. Chesterton. I'm not sure. It was somebody like that, and he said he made the statement: "Be kind to everyone because everyone has a great burden."
yes,
And that's a paraphrase. That's not
right.
exact.
Yeah,
But that's exactly your point. I think.
yeah,
Is that person across the table votes different, thinks different, lives different, whatever it is, but you know that they are carrying a great burden, just as you are.
right.
But because we have Christ, we are to be a burden-bearing people.
Mm-hmm.
And Thanksgiving holiday, we're gonna. It's gonna be the three of us
Right.
this
Right.
year, and it's gonna be you guys down at Lancaster. And so no one is going to be sitting around our table that's different than we are.
Right.
But we've both been in situations where that's the case.
Yep.
And sometimes you do have to muster the grace of Christ to be able to think compassionately and speak compassionately. But more often than not, it's just being a decent human being,
Right.
a decent image bearer, like you were saying, a decent image bearer of God. I think it's well put. And if there's anything, all this stuff, the melting pot, all the first Thanksgiving, all that stuff can teach us that even the grace of Squanto,
Yeah.
who had every right to get the Wampanoags to say, hey, they're here to harm us.
We
They're here
better
to bring
kill 'em all.
disease. Let's kill them all now. He could have done that probably, but he chose not to.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for that kind of a story. That's it. Thanks for doing that stuff.
It was fun. It was
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
You have our behold.
I do. Right here.
What you got there?
I'm going to behold Psalm 100.
Okay.
So just listen to these words. It's a familiar psalm, and it's one that you picked, and it's a beautiful one. Let the whole earth shout triumphantly to the Lord. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful songs. Acknowledge that the Lord is God. He made us, and we are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and bless his name. For the Lord is good, and his faithful love endures forever. His faithfulness through all generations. Such a powerful chapter specifically for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And the reason why we can be able to do everything you just got through talking about is because of him.
Yep.
Because he's the hero of our story. And so it's a great passage. Hey, we do have a commercial
I
here.
know. Which, if you can't see, I'm holding up the beautiful In the Waiting Advent book written by my actual friend, Sonia Warner.
You only have one actual friend?
No,
Really?
but I mean, like, people say written by my friend. And it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
are you friends? Yes, Sonia's my friend. She's my buddy, friend,
She's
pal,
an incredible
gal.
person. A great
and
writer.
she's such a good writer.
Yeah.
And peppered through here are QR codes linking to videos of music,
Yeah.
but also really cool artwork by Arcadians who have just
They're gifted.
used their talents
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
Lord. So
yeah.
these are on sale at Arcade Church for $10.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening long distance, I don't know, call the church office. We'll see what we can do.
I know,
No
yeah.
promises, but
well, it starts December 1st.
yeah, so
And-
get your book on
yeah.
Sunday.
And so this Sunday is December 1st.
Yep.
And you can start reading this. We're going to read through it. I think you guys are going to
Yep.
read through it. Every day there's a reading section. if you've read an Advent book, and every day up through Christmas is a reading, a scripture, and it's just a great way to move towards Christ throughout a really great month.
Well, and something else on our Arcade Church Kids webpage, there are some resources for families that connect.
Okay.
They're not exactly the same, but
That are
one
more
per week.
kid-sensitive
A little
or-
more kid-friendly, an activity, a video to watch. Super simple.
Okay.
But that way, once a week, you can do something specific
Okay.
with the kids too.
Good.
Okay? All right. Well,
right.
until next time, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the blessings of the Lord this
Yeah.
week.
Bye.
Take care.